Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. We lost our protectorate over Korea when they joined back up with Korea, but that's okay. I think it's all right. So we got a couple of rebellions we're in the process of putting down. But with that being said, I think I am gonna demobilize our larger armies, just to make sure that we get our finances back in the black and overall get things going all right with that. We got one rebellion here in Gujarat, in Baroda rather, and one over here in Banjar. The British East Indies have continually transferred their puppet states to us, which I think has been overall pretty solid. I've been pretty happy with the way that's gone. Another diplomatic play in the Ionian Islands. Let's go ahead and get the Army of Australia. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? Oh man. The Ionians are a protectorate, right? Not these Ionians. Yeah. They should. That's another place I should have gotten to work on annexing. Two arms. This war should get knocked out really, really fast. There's the peasant revolt in Baroda. So, there's the Ionian Islands. So once these finish out, we'll go ahead and grab Gobir and Oyo and Segu, and then we'll call that the end of our scramble for Africa. I might be able to get I might still have time to get Tripolitania, but we'll see. They've got a defensive pact with Italy, and while I can fight Italy, I would rather not fight Italy. Now there's stuff popping off in the Transvaal. Alright. Well, I think actually we might just end up putting down revolts until the end of the game. Hold on. Defense pact with Mexico. No thank you. Not at this point. Austria-Hungary is once again improving relations. We can make this thing in Gujarat work. I think I might have accidentally moved that fleet somewhere else, and that's why that's happening. We'll put a naval unit there to knock out that enemy fleet. And then, once this pops off, we will once again get a naval invasion going using the Army of Australia, which is right nearby. Chilean mass migration. Wonderful. Alright, that's a successful naval invasion. That's probably the Ionians. Let's go ahead and mobilize the Army of India and the Home Army. More oil on the Trucial coast. Encourage this trend. Oil is the future. And let's build these oil rigs. Get some innovation happening. Banjar Liberal Revolt, that's a success. Okay, hold on. Did we won? Yes. Alright, they're fully occupied. Wonderful. Alright, just wanted to make sure that was sorted out before I... Austria-Hungary keeps turning their improved relations on and off. Anglo-Indian aristocratic revolt. Gosh, and also golly. Why don't... Oh boy. Things are wild over there for sure. Alright, who do we have still mobilized? Army of the West Indies. We'll put you here. Army of West Africa. We'll put you on this front. Army of the Mediterranean. Where are you geographically? You're here. You're in the Transvaal. Alright, so can't move you too far. Army of Australia, however, we can put you over here. Flemish people are fleeing Britain and going to South Dakota. What's in South Dakota? Oh, hey, America's war finished. They have some kind of massively good standard of living or something? 13.1. No, that's probably better. I haven't really properly managed the economy of the Low Countries, but I have fully incorporated them finally. 2 arms. Once we win this war, this army can also go to India, and that'll be... We'll be able to knock out... do plenty of damage to the revolting Anglo-Indian aristocracy. And that's the end of the rebellion in the Transvaal. So, let's go ahead and put another army in India. I don't suspect this is going to ultimately be that much of a big deal, but this is also the second big revolt in Anglo-India that we've faced. I've continued to not sort of consume more and more of Anglo-India, which is a thing that Britain often does, I think. Hey. Can't embargo them. Our relations aren't bad enough. Why not? Alright, that's fine. Continent of Opportunity event. They're for survivors, not charity cases. Oh my goodness, Greek Qing got a hold of Lao, I think. Beautiful. That's the end of the Burden Peasant Revolt. Alright, all fronts are defended. As near as they can be. And I think overall, we're in a good spot. Let the war begin. We're short on bureaucracy. That's wild. Well, we can grab some more government admins and flip over the telephone switchboards. 2 arms. The armed forces want a council republic. We'll see what we can do. By which I mean we're not going to do it. It's the last year of the game. I'm not going to upset my technocracy. In fact, I could just shove them out of government. That would be really funny. No, and also no. No, and also get out of my face. So if I boot them out of government, they'll be extremely angry. So I think I'm going to keep them around for now. I didn't realize they were headed up by a communist. They are also really messing with my legitimacy, though, which is tragic, because I love being really legitimate. It's one of my great joys in this game. Come on. I don't know how these fronts kind of goofed up, but it is what it is. There's a battle. Portugal sides with Austria-Hungary against a peasant revolt in the Congo. In Portuguese Congo. Which is none of my business. There's the revolt against the Transvaal. Romania sides with Austria-Hungary. Romania's doing imperial power stuff. You know what, Romania? Let's be friends. You got some territories and whatnot. Cool. What are you doing leaving the front? Can you maybe return and not create a problem? Fascist the hedge. I feel like we're in a real era of revolutions now. Where's the army of Australia? Again, I wish all these trade routes would get removed at the same time. Put you in the hedge. I realize I'm abandoning this front, but I don't think that front matters all that much. We got a lot of other territory we're taking that's more important. I guess they're going to take that tiny bit, but we're still continuing to advance in a bunch of other zones. Alright, here we go. Whatever. Force comparison is very good in all those other areas, so this war is probably going to sort itself out relatively quickly once we've closed out all the tiny fronts, unless, of course, all of our armies decide to wander off instead of going to the front where the war is happening. Canada offers their support against fascist the hedge in exchange for us owing them an obligation. No, thank you. I'm Great Britain. I'm fully capable of fighting my wars against tiny fascist uprisings. I acknowledge that it was potentially sensible to go to these unmanned fronts, not knowing anything. Given that the game's sort of internal logic doesn't know anything about those fronts except that they're unmanned, but it's still a little silly. Well, thank goodness Mahra was neutral. I don't know what I'd done if Mahra would have tried to intervene. Alright, let's put a couple more of these on telephone switchboards. Trade agreement with Austria-Hungary? Heck yes. I'll always do a trade agreement. Actually, realistically, what if I just moved all of them? That's still a significant investment, so we'll leave that be for now. We'll get a little bit of bureaucracy at a time until the end of the game. Just as much as we need. Right, we are very solidly winning against the Anglo-Indian aristocratic revolt at this point. What are they even? They're an autocratic presidential republic. Well, that's not shocking, frankly. There's arc welding. So once this war is over, we'll be able to... Right. Already forgotten. I'm sorry, the hedge. I'm really treating you badly here. I completely forgot we were in a war. You know how things go. I stopped thinking about you for 5 seconds, and I thought the war was over and I'd won it. You know me. I'm Great Britain. I don't. Peasant revolt in Tripolitania. I wish I'd caught that a little sooner. Might have been able to get a free protectorate. It's free real estate. World in the 19th century exists. Great Britain. It's free real estate. Alright, I think this is probably the last battle up here in Punjab. This was Kashmir. Kashmir's up here. It's just the farthest north extent of the parts of India that I control. It's not the farthest north extent of India itself. Alright. And that should be the final push. Oh, not quite. We've still got a front here. But that's the end of that war. And the war in Lahej will be sorting itself out within the next few weeks. Because they're losing war support at the rate of 11.5 per week. I don't know what to do about this convoy situation. I've been chronically low on convoys. Is Marina Kingdom my dominion? It is. Did that happen at some point? I don't even remember. I must have been drunk during that. I remember there used to be this phrase that that people would use to describe the British Empire. Would be the Britons sort of stumbled into having a global empire, and that's always been one of those funny things that, like, stumbled into it. Like, I feel like you can't really get a global empire if you didn't intend to have a global empire. I feel like it's not the sort of thing you can have happen to you by accident. And now America's buying our cars. America, I'm going to deliberately not... I'm not going to reduce relations with you, but we're going to keep things at arm's length. Oh, hey, Anuhak. Anahuac. Huh. Mexico, you should take over Anahuac. On the other hand, Ahuatl, Mixtec, and Zapotec. And those are the populations in this state, right? Interesting. That's neat. I've never seen that happen before. That's pretty cool. Alright, so that's the end of the war with Lahej. Or very nearly. So, I am at 7.9 infamy, which is actually pretty low. Which means I could conquer Oyo in one go. If I waited just a little longer. But I would still be doing it by the end of the game, just on account of how long it takes diplomatic plays to pop off. So, I think... Don't want to trade states with you, Portugal. Don't want to mess around with my state count right now, Portugal. See, this whole situation, not happy about it. One of my top ports is suffering reduced employment right now, and I'm not sure why. I think that's what's happening. So, alright, 7.4. Trying to get conquered. The Army of West Africa on it. That's going to put me at 24.7 infamy, which is fine. Only got one army mobilized, but I'm not too concerned about it. Again, this is not going to pop off before the end of the game, but you know, maybe we'll end up doing more. Who knows? Who knows? Depends how badly the update breaks the save file. But in any case, we're getting to the end of Austria-Hungary. Why are you doing this? So, there's the Victorian century concluded. Where's the... GDP, we're basically scratching the bottom of $1 billion. We're 95% of the way there. Standard of living got up to 18.4, which is pretty solid. Prestige, we got a huge amount. Population, we got a huge amount. Let's see, what other insights have we got? Political strength mostly held by capitalists, engineers, and machinists, which is interesting. It's interesting that machinists make up such a big part of it because I think academics and under technocracy, I think academics get a bonus to political strength, but I guess there's so few ultimately that it just ends up kind of being that way. 3/4 of the political strength is held by British pops. That shouldn't be shocking. So these are the English, the Irish, and the Scottish. We got some Dutch, Wallonian, and Flemish pops over here. And this is Welsh pops, and then all this is, because that's the imperial core territory. So that shouldn't shock anyone. Yeah, we'll just do a little bit. We'll continue playing. Load as Britain. And we'll just do a little bit of a look over of where we are as of the end of the game. We've got a standard of living, an average standard of living of 18.4, the number 4th in the world. The only power that exceeds us that's not in our customs union is Switzerland. The other powers that do exceed us are Australia and Canada. Of them, Australia is communist, I think. So... yeah, and they got cooperative ownership, so that's not shocking. They got hyper high SOL. Canada is a presidential republic with universal suffrage, but they've also got high regulatory bodies and pretty good workplace safety. So that's increasing their standard of living through increased wages. Population is absolutely absurd. We have 142 million. That's number 3 worldwide, only behind the British Raj and Great Qing. We are actually closing in on the British Raj, on matching the British Raj in terms of overall population, which is absolutely bananas. But then again, we did take over all of Africa, so there's a lot of people in Africa. Once again, we got British red on every continent. We don't have the whole world in our, or even, I don't think the majority of the population in the world in our customs union. We've got a huge amount of territory in our customs union. And we do have a significant minority of the global population. In fact, I think, with the exception of the Qing market, I think our market is the market that has the most of the global population in it. Particularly what with us holding virtually all of India over here, and then all of Africa, all of Brazil. So we've got a huge market. The German market is pretty substantial, and of course the Russian market is very geographically large. China appears to have the Ottoman Empire. Oh no, that's the Spanish market. Ottomans are in the Spanish market. That's wild. In terms of our politics, we have King Albert of Hanover. He's our 3rd king. He's 41 years old. So he's got another 20 or 30 years in him if we don't make him abdicate. We've got the industrialists, armed forces, and petit bourgeois in power with a righteous government. It looks like the armed forces are in the hands of an ethno-nationalist now, so... oh, I think the petition cleared out by itself, which is really interesting. In terms of our overall population makeup, we have about 1/4 loyalists and about 1/12 radicals. We had a pretty solid batch of radicals the whole game. That's going to happen when you're holding a lot of unincorporated territory full of people that are discriminated on in your citizenship law. But with my citizenship law being cultural exclusion, it's actually pretty difficult to get up to multiculturalism these days. In the current build of the game, since there's not necessarily interest groups that prefer it by default, unless you unlock those special ideologies that are pro-multiculturalist, which I think is fine, because again, I think multiculturalism is a little bit of an infinite labor cheat code. Literacy, we got 84%. We definitely could have gotten higher in this. I had restricted child labor, but I never got up to compulsory primary school. I went to a technocracy, and I put the industrialists in power and kept them there, and from that, I just never had the opportunity to get to compulsory primary school. So this is why our literacy rate is relatively low for a global power. Yeah, overall in our diplomacy, we have a handful of protectorates, a bunch of dominions, and a huge swath of puppets. We're rivals with France and Russia. Most people are not rivaling us by the end of the game. I was very good about managing our infamy. I never kind of went goblin mode, which a couple of countries did, and which, like, I think with the level of aggressive the AI is comfortable with being in the current build of the game, managing infamy is super duper important. So, I'm glad I was able to largely successfully do that without creating problems without creating problems for myself. Um, I had a ton of wars with America due to having messed with Texas fairly early on in the game. I'm not sorry. I think it was really funny and memey that we kept doing that. Um, didn't ultimately complete the scramble for Africa. I think when I successfully edged out a bunch of different countries colonizing Africa, I think it might have sort of short-circuited the AI's ability to figure out how to properly colonize. Because you notice that like France barely did any expanding. They didn't they only grabbed Tunis kind of right at the end of the game, and they didn't grab Tripolitania at all. Typically, there's a lot of fighting over Egypt, particularly because a bunch of different powers want to build the Suez Canal. Um, Getting the Suez Canal built is difficult in this game, and we did not end up succeeding at doing it. So that created some interesting dynamics with armies kind of going around the Horn of Africa a lot. Yeah, Germany got formed. I think this was the run where I accidentally supported them. Well, I didn't accidentally support them. I intentionally supported them, but I shouldn't have because I didn't think they would form a Germany after that, and they pretty much immediately did. Italy got formed. Austria-Hungary pretty much it lost a lot of territory, particularly in the west here over the course of the game, but it did continue to hold. Ottoman Empire fell out of being recognized. They failed the Tanzimat, and that's why Serbia and Romania got free. Romania is the combination of what was before Wallachia and Moldavia. I think it's pronounced Moldavia. And on top of that, they lost a war with Egypt fairly early on in the game due to having an internal revolution, so that's kind of why things went funny over there. Portugal wound up a protectorate of Austria-Hungary. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's what happened. In terms of other colonies, really only France managed to get much of Africa. Portugal's got some extensions of territories that it started with down here, but basically that's kind of how that went. And Germany got a bunch of Persia, a bunch of Iran. Actually, that's not true. France got a bunch of territory down here, in Indochina. So they did get some of Indochina, although not the historical territory, which is this area over here. Germany got a big chunk of Japan. I got a treaty port in Japan, but I'm unclear if that's still functioning as a treaty port because the treaty port. I wish there was somewhere in the interface where you could look up whether or not you have a treaty port in someone's market, because I feel like this, for example, like I wish I could see in the diplomacy whether or not this territory here, Portugal, counted as a treaty port, because I feel like it ought to be, and I feel like there are a lot of situations where there's a treaty port where it's not like clear what the treaty port status is. It's clearly supposed to be a treaty port, like this is clearly supposed to be a treaty port, but I don't know if it's functioning as such, or if that's just a little chunk of territory where Germany could build the Suez Canal if they wanted to. Yeah, I think that's a pretty successful run overall. No complaints. I've had fun. I hope you all have also had fun as we pursued global domination, mostly succeeded. And, yeah, I'll see you all on the other side.